All right, so that's the world of living with tech, right? So as I mentioned a couple times, while the Elmwood Zoo is speaking, please make sure that you leave your audio muted so that we can hear her really well. I see that some of you have your cameras off, which is good. If you'd like to protect your child's privacy, please feel free to turn the camera off. It is not needed for this program. Also, another thing that I have been mentioning the last couple weeks is we're actually starting our Summer Quest registration this week. So we are actually doing 2 Zoom programs. One is tomorrow at 11 in the morning, and one is on Thursday at 4:30 in the afternoon. So just like this program, you would need to register for those Zoom calls. We're going to be playing a fairy tale trivia game, because our theme this year is Imagine Your Story. So it's all about fairy tales and knights and dragons and just having a great time with fairy tales in general. But we would love to have you guys on there because we are going to be discussing how you can register for Summer Quest, earn points, earn virtual badges, earn prizes in real life. So if you want to learn those things, make sure that you email the library or ask your parents to email the library for those links. Like I said, the one starts tomorrow. The only other thing I have to say before we get started with the zoo is you will receive a code that will get you points for attending this program. It's not set up in Read Squared yet, which is the platform for our virtual program. So you will receive those in an email that I will send out when those are ready. But I haven't forgotten about you guys. All right, so I'm just going to change my speaker view, and I am going to make Elmwood Park Zoo spotlighted so we can see their video. All right, and then I think you should be unmuted, so I think we're good.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Yes?
Yes, we're good, right?
Okay, fantastic. All right, guys, my name is Elisa. I'm one of the education managers here at the zoo. And I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, we have our friend Snowy, our snowy owl. She's making quite a lot of noise, and she is going to be the animal that you guys are going to meet today. And educator Rebecca is going to tell you all about her. So what we're going to do, like what we did last time, is Rebecca's going to talk about Snowy, and then we'll open it up to questions at the end. And then Ms. Tara, if you wouldn't mind just doing what we did last time, clicking on each individual student one at a time, they can unmute themselves and ask their questions. Does that sound good?
Sure. Depending on how many we have, I might just have them type it into the chat if it's easier, and I'll read them. Yep, sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, without further ado, here are Snowy and Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca, and like Lisa said, I'm an educator here at the zoo. And with me today, very vocal and excited to meet you guys, is our snowy owl, whose name is Snowy. She's actually one of my favorite animals here at the zoo, so I'm very excited to bring her out for you guys today. And that's because snowy owls in general are really cool animals, but snowy owls are very unique for a number of reasons, which we will talk about throughout the program. So snowy owls are actually a species that is found more north of us. You can find them in Canada and up into the Arctic. They really like much cooler temperatures than we have here, and they prefer a lot of snow and ice even. That's where they are going to be most at home in their habitat. You can see she has beautiful white feathers on her, and that is to help her to camouflage in the wild, because if she's in those Arctic regions with all that snow and ice, it's not going to be green and brown like it is here. It's going to be mostly white. So that's going to help her to blend in with her surroundings a lot better. You see she has lots of black spots on her feathers too. This is unique to female snowy owls. Males are actually almost completely white. We believe that males are completely white to help them blend in with the snow a little better. And females have the black spots on them so that when they lay nests, it helps to break up how the nest looks. It is to help them blend in with snow and sticks that they might be sitting on top of as they incubate those eggs. And snowy owls have, as you see, she's very large. She has a lot of feathers. They actually make up most of her weight. Snowy owls are actually the heaviest owl in North America, and they usually are around 4 pounds. So Snowy right now is just under 4 pounds. She is 3.7 exactly. I know. So they're quite large owls. When they're up in the Arctic, they can spend up to hours every day just perched in one spot, observing everything going on around them. And sometimes they will spend some time hunting as well. But the unique thing about snowy owls is, unlike other owl species, they don't hunt during the nighttime. A lot of owl species are actually nocturnal, which means they sleep all day and they come out at night. Snowy owls are the opposite. They're diurnal, just like us, which means they're awake all day and they sleep at nighttime. So they're going to be looking for their food during the day. Another thing that's unique about snowy owls, unlike other owls that hunt from the trees, snowy owls actually hunt from the ground. So they really prefer big, flat, open spaces, maybe with some rolling hills in there they can sit on top of. And they will sit down on the ground and use their very powerful sense of hearing and their powerful sense of sight to help them track their animals. So when she's on the lookout for her food, she's going to be looking mainly for small mammals. So anything like small rodents or maybe rabbits, arctic hares. Their favorite thing ever is called a lemming, which is a very small mammal. Think kind of like a mouse or a rat or maybe even a mole kind of mammal. That's what they look similar to. They eat mostly lemmings, and they're going to be using their sense of hearing, first of all. So they have ears on the sides of their head, just like we do. They're long slits on each side of their skull that are tucked under all of those feathers that you see. I know, they actually cover her ears. So she can hear through the feathers. It just means that you can't see her ears unless you move all those feathers. It's to help keep her warm. Think like earmuffs. So she uses those ears to help her hear things going on around her. And one of the things that makes them so powerful is that those ears, they're actually a little lopsided. One will be up a little bit higher than the other ear, and the other one will be a little lower. And that helps them to pinpoint exactly where sound is coming from. So as the sound travels past their face, those ears are able to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. So they can find that prey, maybe down under the snow or even down under some ice. They're also going to use their sense of eyesight. So you'll see when she turns her head back around, there's stuff going on behind her. She has very large yellow eyes. Those eyes are actually so large that they're stuck inside her head. She can't roll them around in her eye sockets like we can. So that's why you see her turning her head so far around. So to make up for not being able to move her eyes, she moves her whole head. They can actually move their head, not into a complete circle, but they can go pretty far. They can go about 3/4 of the way in each direction. So if Snowy was looking straight ahead and she turned her head in one direction, she could turn it all the way around so she was looking straight back, and then a little bit farther so she was maybe looking over her other wing. So it sure looks like she's going all the way around when she does it. And those eyes are so powerful that she's able to see different very small prey items from very far distances. She can also see a lot of different colors and even UV. And we believe different, right, I said different colors. So she can see a lot of different things. They're very powerful eyes. When she spots her prey, she can do a couple things to go and get it. Remember, she's down on the ground. So snowy owls will often just run on over and chase down their prey. It looks kind of silly, but she does have pretty long legs and they can move very quickly to catch food. Another thing she might do is, of course, fly and land on top of her food. She has very large wings, which in a few minutes I can give her a piece of food and we can see if she will flap her wings. They usually get to be about 5 feet long, maybe a bit larger of a wingspan. And she'll use those wings to help her fly. The unique thing about owls, the really special thing, is because they're not fast like some other birds of prey might be, they have to be really quiet to make up for it. So snowy owls and other owl species have very soft feathers that allow them to be completely silent when they flap their wings. So Snowy, when she's going down to land on her prey, that prey won't even hear her coming. So she'll be able to land right on top of it and then kind of ambush and surprise it. And she will use her very large feet to grab a hold of her prey. She's kind of sitting on them here, so see if I can roll her for you to see. They're covered in a lot of feathers to help keep her feet warm on the snow and ice. But most importantly, you see those long, sharp talons that she has. So in each foot, she has about 10 times more gripping strength than we do as people. So if you make a fist with your hand and you squeeze it really tight, as hard and tight as you can, Snowy's still going to be able to squeeze 10 times harder than you. And then you add those long, sharp talons on top of that squeezing pressure, you got a pretty fierce weapon there on this bird. And not much is going to get away when she has it in her feet. Once she has her prey, they'll often sit down on the ground to eat. Maybe they'll take it up to a tree if there's one nearby. But that's when they'll use that long, sharp beak that you'll see. That's used more for eating than killing. If it's a small enough prey item, she could actually swallow her prey whole. Her mouth is a lot larger. It's a lot wider than it looks. Maybe, there you go. When she's talking to you guys, you can maybe get a good look at how wide that mouth is. So she's able to swallow a pretty good sized prey, maybe a mouse, something about that size. She could swallow that whole. Other things, she's going to have to tear it apart. So you'll see her beak comes down to a very sharp point, which is kind of like a knife that she uses to rip meat right off of the bone. And along the sides, that's also very sharp, the sides of her beak. They act more like scissors. So think how you can cut through paper with the sharp edges of scissors. Her beak is going to help her cut right through her prey when she's eating. They do have, like I said before, very powerful eyesight. However, when things are really close to their face, they kind of struggle to see exactly what's going on right in front of her face. So when she's eating, it might be kind of hard for her to see that food when she bends over to get it. So when she turns back around, you'll see she has some very short feathers that stick up around her beak. It kind of maybe looks like a little mustache, I think, sometimes when she sticks it up. Those feathers are actually, they act kind of like whiskers. They help her to feel what's going on in front of her. So if she was to bend down to feel out her food, that's what she would use to help her find it. All right, so when she eats her food all up, they can go through actually several lemmings a day. They can eat a lot of food. They will probably go back up into the trees to rest somewhere or wherever their nest is. But the cool thing about owls is as they're digesting their food, they don't actually digest everything that they eat. They can't digest things like bones or fur. So what they'll do instead is they'll actually cough that stuff back up. So we call those pellets. And for snowy owl, they're probably about the size, maybe a little bit bigger, about the size of your thumb, maybe a grown adult's thumb. They can be pretty large, and it's a packed little ball of basically firm bone. And once they cough that up and it dries all out, you can actually break it apart and find all the little pieces of whatever prey item they recently had to eat. So that's a pretty cool fun fact about owls. All right, so I think we are at about 15-minute mark. So if you guys have any questions about Snowy or about snowy owls, you guys can feel free to ask and we will answer some questions for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So as she mentioned, if you guys want to put your questions in the chat, just because we have a pretty good amount of people on, that'll be a lot easier, and I can read the questions to them and they can answer them for us. Also, just to those that might have come in late, if you didn't sign in to the chat, please put in how many adults are watching the program and how many children are watching the program. Thank you. Let's see where these questions are. I know sometimes it's hard to think of a good one at first. I think it's amazing to hear about how much strength she has in her feet. That's amazing.
They're very powerful animals, and when she sits on our hands, we have to have this really thick leather glove, you see, to help protect us because she has those long, sharp talons. And if I didn't have this glove, she would probably hurt me without even trying because she is so strong. She would just be holding on, just hanging out, and she could probably still hurt me pretty badly. So,
wow,
yeah.
That's awesome. So we have our first question. Someone would like to know, how old is Snowy?
Good question. So she is, we believe, between 9 and 10 years old. She was bred in a facility up north in Canada, so she has always been under human care. In the wild, they usually live to be only about 10 years old, but when they're under human care and have access to food all the time and shelter and most importantly, veterinary care, they can actually live much longer than that. I believe usually up to about 20 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see. Our second question is, Addie would like to know if Snowy is the only snowy owl at the zoo.
Good question. She is the only one that we have here at the zoo. She does live behind the scenes because she's an education animal and she comes out to meet people so closely. When she's not working, she gets a little bit of a break. So the only time you'll see her out at the zoo is if an educator is bringing her out just for some fun or maybe some enrichment. Um, I know you really Snowy is really tricky to have in captivity because they have such strict temperature requirements, and they can be very aggressive birds. So people don't usually have them in their collections. It's pretty fun that we get to have one.
Awesome. Thank you for that information. Let's see. The next question is, what hunts snowy owls? So what would be a predator for the snowy owl?
Good question. So they actually really don't have any predators. They are at the top of the food chain. So they really only, when they're out in the wild, they have to worry if they're injured or hurt in some way, because then something like an Arctic wolf or maybe even a fox will definitely take advantage of an injured bird. But if they're healthy, the only thing they really have to worry about in the wild are actually people and how we build, maybe we put up large buildings or we build roads or even hunting. People can maybe shoot different birds or different prey species, and they might get poisoning sometimes from the type of shot that they use. She's watching something nearby.
Oh, look at those wings, everyone. Wow.
You really have to watch out for in the wild.
Let's see. Aiden wants to know, does she eat fish?
Good question. She does not eat fish. She doesn't really like to get her feet wet. But on occasion, if there's no lemmings available, they will once in a while go and maybe look for some waterfowl or maybe even try other different types of birds, like other types of songbirds that would be more up north. They are actually very good at catching birds because they're so agile. Not usually fish, though.
Let's see. Does Snowy have any friends?
Good question. Snowy does not live with any other owls. She definitely likes to have her own space. She prefers it that way. I would say that she tolerates us keepers as much as I would like to say we're friends. I think it allows us in her presence because she knows we bring food. But no, she likes to be alone, so that's how she lives here at the zoo.
Aw. Let's see. Dominic wants to know, how big can they get?
Good question. So she is actually full size for a female. She's about average. That is, like I said, about a 4-pound bird is average for a female snowy owl. Males are usually a little bit smaller. And most of what you see here, though, is actually feather. They have very thick, feathery coats, if you will, which is what helps keep them warm in the winter.
Very cool. Let's see. Sorry, I'm shifting through a lot of comments, which is awesome. I love to see so many questions. Brody wants to know, does she eat snakes?
Good question. Maybe if there were owls that are a little bit more in their southern territories and there were snakes around and they were kind of hungry, they might go after a snake, but this species really likes to stick to mammals. And the farther north that the snowy owls go, the less likely you are to find any reptiles. They really like warmer weather. So chances are probably not, unless the situation was just right.
Thank you for that. I have a question, actually. So how big would her wingspan be?
So I'd say hers is probably around 5 feet, which is probably average for snowy owls. They do have pretty large wings.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Okay. See, I was expecting more questions to come in. Let's see. How big are their nests?
How big are their nests?
Oh, how big are their nests? So they're not too big. I believe they're usually between like 3 and 4 feet. They don't want to make them very large because they need to be able to sit on them and cover them. But snowy owls will lay between, I believe it's 3 to actually up to 10 eggs, I believe.
Wow.
And if the situation isn't right, if there isn't enough food available at that time, they will actually delay laying eggs so that they don't have more mouths than they can feed. So not very large, and the eggs can kind of vary. They will also mate for life, which is a cool fact. Males will usually have a territory, and females will pick where in the territory to lay their nests. And they will hang out, they will mate for life. They will always be together until one unfortunately passes. Then the other one will likely find another mate.
Let's see. Will Snowy ever have babies?
Good question. As much as I wish we could have snowy owl babies, we do not have a recommendation to breed her. You have to have special permits for that. We also don't have a male snowy owl, only a female. So it is not in her future, as much as I would love it.
Yeah, we would love that too. She's just adorable. Let's see. It looks like the last question for now is, do they eat mice?
They would absolutely eat mice. Yep, if they found those small mammals are their favorite things to eat. So if they saw a mouse run around and she was hungry, she would absolutely go after it. Here at the zoo, we mainly feed mice and rats to our birds of prey. So this individual owl gets mice and rats every day.
That's awesome. Well, I just have to say thank you so much for showing us Snowy. I think that's all the questions we have for now. But she is beautiful and strong, and I love her spots. This was just really amazing. I do have one last question, actually. So was she the type of owl that was in the Harry Potter series?
Good question. Yes, this is the species that was in the Harry Potter series. They actually used a couple different owls for different things, whether it was flying or just being perched in the cage that you see him going around with, or whether it was on Harry's arm. They used different ones for each thing. Because snowy owls, like I said before, are very hard birds to, what are you doing? They're very hard because they have kind of pretty big attitudes and can be so aggressive. There's a lot of places that don't work with them when it comes to training. They have a really hard time. And because they have such strict temperature requirements, a lot of times if you do have a working snowy owl, when the temperature starts to go up, that snowy owl just stops working. They're not motivated to do anything anymore. So the fact that they had 3 on set that were able to do different things is pretty cool, but they couldn't get one to do everything. But yeah, the same species of bird.
That's very cool. I just thought about that. I'm like, man, that would be a great question. All right, well, thank you so much for showing us Snowy. We really appreciate it. I know that we've all enjoyed it a lot, so thank you very much for that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Snowy. You were great.
Thank you.
So I guess lastly, I'll just remind everyone as we're ending out here that we will have the zoo back again next week with another animal. I believe it's the African pygmy hedgehog. So that'll be really cool as well. So if you've already registered for these programs, we'll just send the link and information out to you probably, I believe, on Thursday of this week. We're going to do it a little earlier than normal. So that'll be going on. See, Snowy?
She wants to be the center of attention. She doesn't want no hedgehog. She wants
and she should be. She's beautiful. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the Elmwood Zoo for being here again. I know it's very appreciated. Also, make sure everyone that you try to tune in for our Zoom program either tomorrow or on Thursday. So we're discussing Summer Quest. We're going to tell you guys how to register, play a really cool trivia game. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot easier for the summer to get started if you're there. But otherwise, thank you so much, Elmwood Zoo. This was fantastic.
Thank you for having us.
You're quite welcome. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Snowy. See you later.